I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your 3-minute cattle market update for Friday, January the 6th. And going into this new year with the fat cattle market doing a lot better than expected. Some of these middleweight cattle or big calves are really rallying here as some of these farmers in the northern plains put together their winter project and buying some background in cattle, which a lot of them will go ahead and feed them on out. But these heavy, most of them aren't yearlings or big calves, but these heavy feeder cattle just aren't really responding this week like a lot of us kind of thought that they might. But when you put a pencil to it, they just don't work out very well. But look at the board so far here, middle of the week. Live cattle futures on the February contract. Wednesday was up 80 cents. Thursday was back down 60 cents to end the day on Thursday at 115.07, which gives us about a $3 basis to that 118 fat cattle market, which is already wrapped up for this week. Look at your feeder cattle board on the March contract. Wednesday was down $1.27. Thursday was steady to end the day at 123.75. Now your January spot feeders are 128.25, which is about a $5 basis there, what your cash market is. With those bringing just over 133, and that's what the CME index is. But these cattle still aren't penciling out very good. Fat cattle through Wednesday's trade, which Wednesday was when they had all the trade, and you see how they're really kind of abusing this fed cattle exchange. They're starting to get quite a few cattle on there, had about 5,700 on there this Wednesday, and most of them sold there, probably less than 1,000 of them PO'd. But the best market you could get on there was 117.25 on the best ones. Well, within just a couple of hours when that sale was over, they were swinging the gates at $1.18, which, they're just abusing that deal, these packers are, and until they won't be able to find anybody that wants to consign on there. Now, still there's some guys that are selling their own cattle that don't have a good connection with any packer, don't have a regular buyer that they talk to all the time. It's a good deal for them, but they've got to have volume if they're going to try to stay in this deal. But we're trying to keep some negotiated trade happening. We had a good negotiated year for 2016, but just over the years it's got down where it's less than 20% of the total sales volume, and that's just not enough leverage for guys whenever they're trying to sell fat cattle. But your trade, like I said, through Wednesday was 55,000, most of it at 118 on a live basis, 188 dressed. That would be steady live, $2 lower on the dress basis, which doesn't make a lot of sense because most of your dress trades up in the northern plains, and the numbers are tighter up there, market ready cattle, so they should be turning the tide and selling a little better than the southern plains. But you look at some of these cattle, and we look at the report out of Salina, Kansas, a feeder cattle report. And those cattle are selling here on Thursday. 7 and 8 weights were a week to $2 lower. Your 6 weight cattle were $2 to $3 higher, like we talked. They're kind of in a rally in those middleweight cattle. Any cattle weighing over 9, which is not as good enough test, they were like $8 lower because there's no way to strap them to that April board anymore. But you look and you try to pencil some of these cattle out. If you look at an 800-pound steer bringing around 133 right now, that's $1,064. You sure got to make him weigh 1,400 pounds, so that's 600 pounds. And just figuring a cost of gain, just ballpark figure, we'll say 60 cents, which some of your farmer feeders doing all the work themselves, they got their own grain, they may be able to do it a little cheaper. Some of these small feed yards, not as much. Your bigger feedlots with economies of scale can probably do it cheaper than that, but it's not going to cover all your costs. But at 60 cents, 600 pounds, I can figure that's $360. That makes that steer costing you $1,424 when he's done. If you look at that June board, it's just a pinch over 104. So you just figure that 1,400 pound steer at 104, that's $1,456. That's $32 to try to cover the rest of your costs. That's saying that you're not going to have a big storm, you're not going to have much sickness, you're not going to have any problems. That's got to cover all of your freight. That's got to cover, all the rest of your inputs, drugs and medicine and implants and this and that and everything. That's just not enough to gamble on. You can't stretch out and try to do any more than where that's at, even though you see cattle bringing more than that. But you look at your Actual steer dress weight was down big. That's very positive and could embolden this market here over the next few weeks. Your dress steer now averages, that's 2-week delay on that, 897 pounds. That's 11 pounds less than last week and 9 pounds less than the same week a year ago. Your slaughter's holding in there pretty good for a holiday week, which is hard to tell. It's 354,000 here through Thursday, but it's exactly the same as last week, and just 46,000 less than the same week a year ago, which was off kilter with what we're doing right now. But we'll be able to get a better test of that next week, which probably won't be 600,000 for a total, but it'll be getting in there close. But look at your Kansas cattle there on your 8-weight steers. Those cattle there are bringing, steady to $2 or $3 less than what they did last week on these big load lots here. But that's sure a good test of the market there at Salina and Pratt and the like there. And look at a calf quote on Cattle Market Central there on Thursday afternoon. Burlington, Colorado. They had 101 steer calves, weighed 561 at $1.65. And that's pretty good quote there on some bigger 5-weight steer calves. And that's your 3 minutes. We'll talk to you next week.